this is something that I understand that a lot of you may not be in a position to do, or may not be an option for everyone, but it has certainly helped me, especially with fatigue, and that is to Hello and welcome back to another video, and today I'll be taking you through my top tips on how to manage Crohn's or colitis at work. Now, a lot of what this video will cover can relate to other chronic conditions as well, so by the end of this video hopefully you'll have more of an idea and feel more confident in managing your Crohn's or colitis or any other condition really at work. And even though a lot of this will just focus on Crohn's disease, which you haven't guessed it, is what I have, a lot of it is sort of transferable to other conditions as well. So before we get started, please make sure to hit that subscribe button in the corner of your screen and give this video a thumbs up, and feel free to comment, and I'll get back to all the comments as soon as I can. And yeah, if you find this helpful, please share with your friends and family. I'm just really keen to get the word out on how Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis can make life very difficult for us IBD sufferers. So if you've been following me on my Instagram page, or if you've watched the little video about me, and if you haven't, why haven't you? Click here to watch it and then come back to this video straight away. Then you would know that I am a diagnostic radiographer. But what exactly is a radiographer, you ask? And before you jump to conclusions, it has nothing to do with fixing radios. Yes, people have said that to me before. Essentially, there are two types of radiographers. So you have a therapeutic radiographer and a diagnostic radiographer. So a therapeutic radiographer will use radiation to treat medical conditions such as cancer, whereas a diagnostic radiographer, which is who I am, uses different technologies such as X-rays, CT scans, MRI scans, ultrasound scans to kind of diagnose diseases or to diagnose fractures and breaks. Fractures and breaks are the same thing, but you get my gist. To diagnose broken bones, basically, and to produce those images that can be read by someone that's called a radiologist, which is a doctor that specialises in reading these scans. Now, I'm super proud for working for the NHS and doing my part to sort of deliver the best type of patient care and experience I can to the patients that I deal with at work. And certainly my Crohn's has influenced the way that I treat my patients, which I will do a separate video on, and I'll pop the link up here in due course. Everyone in the NHS sort of feels the pressure that is going on at the moment with sort of lack of funding and staff shortages. So everyone is kind of doing double, even triple the amount of work, and we're still doing that with a smile on our faces. And even though everyone does feel the pressure, people like me who do suffer with a chronic condition, and especially with fatigue, we kind of do feel it a little bit more than anyone else. Like with any job, the most common theme is stress, which does bring me on nicely to my first point, which is to reduce the stress. So for some, stress can be a trigger for symptoms, and I understand that stress is everywhere and sometimes it can't really be avoided. But you can take certain steps to minimize the impact that stress can have. The ways in kind of which you can do this will vary from person to person, and what you do for a job. And so what may work for someone like me, or the things that I do to reduce the impact of stress at work for me, may not be practical for someone else. So just in the same way, everyone's sort of condition and IBD is different. So the ways that I kind of manage with stress at work really does depend on what type of day it is. If it's a super busy day and I'm unable to get a break, then I really can't do much about that. But if it's a bit of a slower day, or if we have enough staff, then I can kind of go for a mid-morning break and a mid-afternoon break, which helps so much. But what I tend to do, it may seem a bit antisocial, I avoid the staff room. The reason being is because my working environment is in a dark room with artificial light, and I don't get to see what it's like outside, especially with sort of when you wake up and it's dark outside, and then you spend all day inside and you go home and it's already dark outside. So I never see the sunlight. So I avoid the staff room and I go outside, and I do that with my lunch as well. Obviously, this is weather dependent, and I would try to find a sheltered space outside in one of the hospital gardens, and just sit outside for 10-15 minutes without looking at my phone can be really, really soothing and relaxing. And just sort of breathing in the fresh air and sort of taking in the natural sunlight and just sort of disconnecting for a while, and just blocking out everything that's just happened to you in before that break, and can kind of really calm you down and prepare you so much better for the day ahead. Now, my other tip for reducing stress at work also merges with tip number 2, which is kind of knowing where all the bathrooms are. So before I even go anywhere, whether it be making plans with my friends or commuting to work, I always kind of plan where the nearest toilets are. I even plan out where my backup toilets are, just in case the ones that I prefer are out of order or are being occupied. And I usually rank the toilets in order of cleanest to last resort. So if all the other options are not available, you go to your last resort, which may not be the nicest, especially if it's a public toilet or one at a station. But if you need to go, you need to go. And the same thinking applies with the workplace. So the moment I enter or walk into the hospital, I know exactly where all the nearest toilets are. And it just can take the stress out, because you never know when you're going to need the loo. Plus, if someone stops me in the hospital and asks me where the nearest toilet are, I am your go-to guy. I can point you to the nearest one. As I mentioned before, Crohn's and colitis, they are conditions that require you to go to the toilet more often. This can be super embarrassing sometimes, because sometimes you may just get caught short and may not make it to the toilet in time. And so this is kind of linked into my next tip for work. And I keep a spare change of clothes at work, along with toiletries such as aftershave, body wash, or even baby wipes. I keep it locked in my locker, just in case. Haven't needed to use it yet, but it's like packing for a holiday or a trip. I'll rather pack something and not need it than need it and not have it. And just this simple thing can bring you peace of mind, and also can help to reduce your stress at work, to know that you have spare clothes, spare underwear, some perfume to freshen up. Now, tip number 3 for me would be to sit down with your manager. Now, some of you may not feel comfortable doing this or even disclosing your condition to your boss, especially if you may not get along with them. But I will do a separate video on sort of how to approach this subject, listing the pros and cons for you. So once I've done that, I'll pop the link up here. For me, I have been super lucky, not only because I work in a hospital and sort of talking about health conditions is pretty much a normal thing in that environment, but my manager has been super supportive, and so has other people in the department that have known what a rough time I've been having with my Crohn's disease. I've pretty much said what I have, how it affects me, and what things they can do to kind of help me. And from there, we've come up with a plan, not only where I can do the job that I love and train so hard to do, but to stay healthy at the same time, which is, for me, my health is of the utmost importance, no matter what. Now, my next tip, and this is something that I understand that a lot of you may not be in a position to do, or may not be an option for everyone, but it has certainly helped me, especially with fatigue, and that is to reduce your hours. I was fine doing a full-time job, but one thing about my job and some other jobs is that you have a constantly changing shift pattern. And anyone working in a clinical area in the hospital will tell you that you do your standard 9 to 5, or maybe a 12-hour shift, a night shift, and you maybe even be on call. And I experienced this even when I was training, and I was fine with it. But for me, it did start to kind of toll up and start to mess up my routine. And unfortunately, last Christmas, I had a really bad flare, and I've not really been the same since. So by this point, I already spoke to my manager and told them all about my sort of Crohn's. So it was very easy for me to go back and sit down with them and have another meeting, and come up with another plan on how I can reduce my hours, which will be not only beneficial for me but beneficial for the department as well. That there is a balance. So not only do you need to do what's right for you, you have to come up with a way that also is mutually agreeable with your employer. And the only way to do that is to just sit down with your boss and discuss the options available. So there you have it. Those are my top tips for coping with Crohn's at work. If there is something that you do or have done that I haven't covered, please let me know in the comments section. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button in the corner of your screen. And as I've mentioned, you can find the links to my social media in the description box below. And make sure to check out my website where you can sign up to my newsletter where I send monthly exclusive Crohn's and colitis tips, which I don't really share on social media. So that's another way you can stay ahead of the game. So thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.